Interesting facts about France. 1. France is the largest country in the EU by landmass. France is the largest country in the EU, and metropolitan France, since there are a handful of overseas territories, is 643,801 square kilometers. To give some perspective, France is around 4 times the size of the United Kingdom. 2. France is just slightly smaller by landmass than the state of Texas. While we're on the subject of the size of metropolitan France, one of the coolest facts about France is that it's roughly the same size as Texas, USA. 3. Until recently, it was illegal for women to wear trousers in France. In an archaic law dating back over 200 years, to the 17th of November, 1800 to be precise, it was illegal for women to wear trousers in France. The decree stated that women should go to the police for permission to wear trousers. The law was then amended in 1892 and then again 1909. The law was abolished once and for all in 2013. 4. France is often nicknamed Le Hexagon. As you might well imagine, Le Hexagon in French is simply translated into English as hexagon. Metropolitan, mainland, France is therefore nicknamed Le Hexagon thanks to its hexagonal shape. 5. French was the official language of England for almost 300 years. From 1066 to 1362, following the arrival of William the Conqueror in England, French was used as the official language in England. This goes far to explain why there are so many French words in English. It also explains why so many of the words we use for meats in English find their roots in French. You see, during the 11th century, following the Norman conquest, the wealthiest in Britain were the French elite, who were in turn served by the English. As a result, they were the ones consuming the meat, as opposed to the English who would have farmed the animals. As such, the word for pig meat in English became pork, from the French porc. The word for cow meat became beef, from the French bœuf. If you're currently learning French, be sure to check out our guide to English words used in French, as you may well discover that your vocabulary is already a lot bigger than you thought. 6. A French king holds the title for the shortest reign in history. Louis Antoine, i.e. Louis XIX, holds the title for having the shortest reign in history. When his father, Charles X, abdicated, he was the heir apparent, known as Dauphin in French, and so automatically became monarch of France. However, he, too, abdicated just 20 minutes later, ensuring that he had the shortest reign of any monarch in history. In fact, he is considered to be in joint place with Luís Filipe of Portugal, heir apparent to the throne of Portugal, who became monarch when his father, Dom Carlos I, was assassinated on 1 February 1908. Unfortunately, Luís Filipe was also fatally wounded during the attack and survived his father by just 20 minutes. 7. The French army invented camouflage. France, and specifically Paris, may be considered to be the fashion capital of the world, but it's also where camouflage was invented. Camouflage comes from the verb, to make up for the stage, and evidently camouflaging oneself is all about blending into the scene. The French army were the first army to begin wearing camouflage during World War I after they commissioned artists to create camouflage. 8. The French army still use carrier pigeons. On the subject of the military, one of the most surprising facts about France and the French army is that the army still uses carrier pigeons. The pigeons were used during World War I and World War II, and the army retains a trained fleet of carrier pigeons at Fort Mont-Valérien in case of emergency, i.e. one in which electronics are knocked out during an electromagnetic war. 9. The oldest person to have ever lived was a French woman from Arles. The Provençal city of Arles is one of the most beautiful towns in Provence. And the oldest person to have ever lived, officially, in that there are records to prove her date of birth and death, came from there. Jeanne Calment lived until the age of 122 years old and 164 days. She rode her bicycle until 100, lived alone until she was 110, quit smoking at 117, and carried on drinking a glass of port a night until her death. 10. The Louvre in Paris is the largest art museum in the world. If you've ever been to Paris, then no doubt that you'll have visited the Louvre Museum. Home to world-famous artworks such as the Mona Lisa and the Winged Victory of Samothrace, the items on display total over 35,000, meaning that it would take over 200 days to see everything. And that's if you looked at each artistic object for only 30 seconds. As of 2019, the actual collections of the Louvre, the museum has a larger collection than it's able to display. The number of items within the Louvre's collection total over 380,000 objects. 11. It's estimated that 25,000 tons of snails are eaten in France each year. One of the more unusual facts about France is that it's estimated that the typically French delicacy, les escargots, are eaten by the literal ton each year. Traditionally cooked in garlic butter, it's estimated that around 25,000 tons of snails are consumed in France on an annual basis. 12. Paris first became the capital city of Paris in 847. Of all the surprising facts about France, one of the most unbelievable of them all is probably that, during Roman times, Paris was known as Lutetia and was not the most significant cities in what is now modern-day France. It wasn't until 847 CE that Paris became the capital city of France. 13. The oldest church in France is in Metz. The oldest church in France can be found in Metz and dates back to 390. Today, the church is used as a cultural center and exhibition hall, and a visit here is easily one of the best things to do in Metz. As one of the oldest churches in France, Saint-Pierre-aux-Nonnains was first constructed as part of a Roman bath complex in the 4th century. 14. Metz has the largest surface of stained glass windows in the world. Metz's cathedral's windows cover an area of an impressive 70,000 square feet, making them the largest surface area of stained glass not only in France, but in the whole world. They are simply stunning, with some designs even by the iconic Marc Chagall, and are a must-see when in the city of Metz. 15. France has 13 French-administered territories outside Europe. France has a number of territories outside of Europe. One of the lesser-known of these is the archipelago of Saint-Pierre and Miquelon, which lies just off the coast of Canada and is the only part of France in North America.